Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to Starbucks. I'm your host, Andy DiNardo. With me, we got Jim Rosati. Jim, good morning. Happy Monday to you.
Good morning. Happy Monday. Usually I'm not looking forward to Mondays, but it's a Monday I'm looking forward to, DiNardo. It's a good Monday.
The Pirates just got swept, and we are excited.
Yeah, basically.
Basically. Yeah. No, I don't know if excited is really the word, but I'm content what's happening today. We have a big show to talk about today.
Yeah,
a lot of stuff happening.
Excited is a good word to use.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a proper adjective to use in this situation.
Yeah. Maybe it's just because I was in a terrible mood yesterday. That's why.
You were.
I really was.
You need to get off of Twitter like me.
No,
just post something periodically and then just leave, step away.
I was looking for it.
You have to stop engaging people.
It wasn't Twitter that put me in the bad mood. It's this organization that puts me in a bad mood. So I go onto Twitter more or less looking to lash out. Twitter is my venting, if that makes sense. It's kind of my therapy. I'm normally, whatever, positive, joking mood. But there's times where I get irritated. I'm looking for stuff. And that was yesterday. I was very irritated. This organization is very much irritating me in my lifestyle. And today's a little bit of a fix to that. So I'll give them that. But yeah, today there's three prospects. Three prospects getting called up. 2 making their actual MLB debut. 1 making their 2023 debut. So yeah, pretty exciting day, I guess.
Absolutely. Yesterday, we had the news from earlier in the weekend that Quinn Priester was going to be called up and making his start on Monday. So we've got Quinn Priester's major league debut coming up tonight. 2019 first round pick. We'll get into some Quinn Priester stuff, what to expect from him, how he's doing. We'll get into all that. Endy Rodriguez also getting the call, which is exciting stuff. We've been clamoring for him for quite some time now.
Damn.
So,
time.
Yeah, hopefully we see a lot more of really anyone not named Austin Hedges behind home plate from here forward. And then also Liover Peguero getting the call. So he's put together a really good stretch of baseball. His last month or so at Altoona, he was crushing the ball, gets promoted to Indianapolis, and I just picked up where he left off. So well-deserving promotion from Peguero as well. So yeah, we'll talk about all three this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I know we were kind of clamoring for, certainly 2 of these guys earlier in the season. One we've started to get on the train for. I'm kind of shocked a little bit. I'm shocked that Peguero's caught up right now too. But Endy and Quinn Priester, like I said, we were kind of calling for earlier. One of the reasons too is the way this team was skidding right now. It's a little too late for that. I know there's some people talking about possible playoff implications for this. These call-ups have nothing to do with playoffs. No one in the right mind should be looking at playoffs at this point in time. That boat has sailed. The Pirates are 1 game away from being in last place in the NL Central. No one's talking about playoffs for these call-ups. It's time.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what anybody is talking about when it comes to a playoff implication. The Pirates are the 4th worst team in the National League currently. About to be even worse than that because they are playing extremely poorly. They've got the 3rd worst run differential in the National League. And they are on quite the skid. So, no, the Pirates are on pace right now. They are well in line to finish in last place in the National League Central yet again. I would be surprised if they finish higher than 5th place, to be honest with you at this point.
I'm with you.
Unfortunately, it's sad, but they're a game back of the Cardinals. Do you really think the Pirates are going to play 1 game better than the Cardinals from this point forward? I don't.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I mean,
hey, happy day. This is a day for excitement. You just brought me down, you and your negativity. So let's get back to this.
Right.
Endy Rodriguez.
You need to elevate me, Jim.
Endy Rodriguez is making his major league debut today. It's something we've been clamoring for months for. I mean, really all offseason, we were basically like, it's so stupid that this guy is going to be trapped in the minors while we've got nothing but just complete black holes, at the catching position. So here we are, finally, July 17th. All it took was, basically 3 months of Jason DeLay hitting below like 150. And, Austin Hedges being basically one of the worst hitting baseball players of all time. And that's not hyperbole. Like, he's on pace to be like a bottom 5 hitter ever. So, yeah, that's all it took. But Endy's finally here, and Pirates fans should be excited. He's an exciting player. Like, he's dynamic. He's athletic. Hits the ball all over the field. I don't know exactly how much his power is going to translate to the major league level, but he's certainly capable of hitting a ball over the fence every now and then. Very good approach to his at bats. You talk about Henry Davis, and you've kind of seen his approach so far. Endy Rodriguez has a very similar approach. He's not going to strike out a whole lot. He's going to draw some walks. He's going to put up good at bats from both sides of the plate. So he's not one of those guys you got to platoon and you can't play him against lefties or can't play him against righties. Like, the dude can do it both from both sides of the plate. He's pretty solid defensively, from like a blocking standpoint, moving side to side. He's pretty good there. This is a different call up from Henry Davis, where Davis may not have been 100% ready to be a major league catcher. But like Endy is, like, if you've watched Endy this year, he's caught a lot of games and he's looked just fine doing it.
I think that's the biggest difference between Henry and Endy is that fact. Like, Henry's bat was ready pretty much when he was drafted, right? It was ready. Now, granted, there was injuries and there was that delay. That's why there was questions with the bat. But we saw, this year with him being healthy, that bat was absolutely ready to be in the majors this year, right? But of course, we all knew, like, his development as far as being a catcher was certainly going to be a project, right? That's behind. And if he is even going to be a catcher, Endy Rodriguez, that wasn't the case, right? Like, he flew through the system last year. You still want to get him more, like seasoning, I guess, to call it, behind the plate or whatever. But absolutely, the bat wasn't ready. We saw, like, in AAA, like it was just to a slow start, and here's the thing. We clamored for him to be here day one, right, in the majors, and he wasn't. That is what it is. But to see what his bat was doing in AAA, it was certainly struggling. Now, sounds like, he's mentioned even to a point where, like, he was just pressing and maybe things weren't going well for him. Then he had the injury, right? But after the injury, maybe got his head clear a little bit. Like, he started turning it on, right? So, like, in the past 34 games, as you mentioned, he really turned it on, batting .321. 398 on base, 457 slugging. You're right. Good for a 117 weighted runs created plus. Like, that's the type of hitter he is. So you talk about power, like 2 home runs in that span. I'm not sure, like, what his power is going to be. Like, Henry Davis, he's got a big bat. He's got power. We've seen it displayed, right? Where Endy, I think, is more like the hit tool. You've called this out before too, like with Varsho. Endy has very good defense all around. Like, he plays catcher, he plays first, he plays second. That's one thing that's kind of crazy. Like, a catcher that can play second base, right? And the outfield. I don't know how much that's going to translate into the majors, if that's going to happen. But, like, he's a catcher who can play defense elsewhere. Huge value, especially when you have another catcher in your team like Henry Davis, right? Your backups also play every day in other positions, right? Like we talked about, like, if Henry Davis is your starting catcher, you potentially have a 4-WAR player and Endy Rodriguez being a backup catcher because he plays all over the place, right? Crazy. But yeah, like, I don't think the power is really there. I think, like, seeing the exit velocities, everything, not saying that he can't develop it, but I don't think he's coming out hitting like 20 bombs, right? But the hit tool is what's really impressive. The plate discipline, like you said, he doesn't strike out, he walks, just a good overall approach. I think he's going to be fine.
Yeah, I mean, you had that's just a really good summary. The versatility the Pirates have had him catching a lot this year, right? So he's played 1 game at second base this year. He's played 8 games at first base. Hasn't played any outfield this season. A couple DHs sprinkled in there, but for the most part, he has been catching. He's actually already caught more games this year, at this level than he has at any other level. So yeah, really looking forward to him. Like I said, I've seen him a few times, in person in the minors, and you can always tell when you're watching minor league baseball. It's funny because none of them are major leaguers yet, right? But you can always tell just like who's different, right?
Yeah.
And you could tell every time you saw Endy Rodriguez that he's different. Like the ball makes a different sound off of his bat than when other people hit. Like when you're watching a AAA baseball game and you get to Endy Rodriguez and his swing, the ball sounds different off his bat than your average AAA baseball player. And that's kind of that's one of my favorite things about minor league baseball is like you can always kind of just tell. Like even if they're having a bad game, they go 0 for 4 or something. You can just tell like who the dudes are. And Endy's a dude. I'm not saying he's going to come up here and be an all-star, but like the guy's a major league catcher. I think we're going to be very happy with the upgrade that he provides specifically at the plate from that position. He's someone to be excited about. He had one of the greatest seasons that I can even remember a Pirate minor leaguer having last year.
Yeah, for sure.
And just the total ineptitude the Pirates have had from the catcher position all season long. It's going to be nice to have somebody in there that isn't just an automatic out.
And I think that's what's the most exciting part about this. It's not even so much that Endy has arrived. It's that Austin Hedges is no longer going to be there every single day. And I know we harp so much on Austin Hedges. So much. And I try to preface it also as much as I can. It's not really his fault, right? It's the Josh Van Meter effect. He's not the one starting himself every single day. But whatever. With Endy coming up, it sounds like, right, the little nuggets that Ben Cherington gets when he's not just giving straight up lying GM talk, right? Like he did yesterday and said, we're very comfortable and happy with our catching situation with Hedges and delay. And then 5 hours later, he calls up Endy Rodriguez, right? So, I think this thing is Endy's going to start the majority of the time at catcher. Hedges is going to start less. And maybe I felt like I got a little inkling here that maybe Henry Davis starts catching here on out. Not often, but starts to. And that's something to hang your hat on because again, less and less and less of Austin Hedges. And that's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if they can start sprinkling Davis a little bit more back there, play Endy the majority of the time, I'm fine. Start Hedges once a week. I'm cool with that. Like I said, if Austin Hedges had been a backup catcher this entire time, I could completely live with what he's doing. It's just I can't take this 5 times a week.
I do not hate Austin Hedges' skill set. Like he has value and he belongs on a major league team. That's why like this whole DFA thing, like I don't. It's just he's not a starting everyday catcher. He hurts you too much. He's your backup. It's perfectly fine. I mean, I would rather have someone like a Chris Stewart has a glove and like somewhat of a bat, right? But like I'm not going to hate on the fact if Austin Hedges is my backup catcher.
He's a perfectly fine backup catcher.
Correct. And what I do like with him, what he presents to this club is there's a lot that he has, a lot of knowledge. I mean, there's a lot that he has as far as ability, like catching. And that's what these two kids need, right? Like they could be a sponge to him and develop. He could teach them a lot in that way. And that's what I like the most about him. It's what he can bring to these two players. Just don't go up to the plate. and hopefully we're getting more of that.
Yeah. No, exactly. So Yeah, I'm excited. Zips projects. I mean, if you're into that kind of thing, Zips projects Endy Rodriguez basically as a league average hitter going forward. So
That's 80% better than Austin Hedges.
That's quite a significant. That's 4 times the offensive output you were getting from Austin Hedges. If that happens, if he's league average.
There you go. There you go. You might not have to have 2 pinch hitters for your catcher every single game.
Yeah, I mean, you're using your entire bench to just hit for your catchers late in games, essentially.
Yeah. One thing I did want to bring up, and again, something to harp on a little bit in that sense, but during this time span when, again, Endy was dominating, again, we're talking about how inept the catching position has been. Austin Hedges batted 183 with a 21 weighted runs created plus. Jason DeLay batted 143 with a 22 weighted runs created plus. So again, like Jason DeLay's numbers, like overall, very skewed to his hot April. He doesn't play a whole lot, but he's been Austin Hedges terrible since then as well. It's been, like you said, a complete black hole.
Those are two numbers. What did you just say? 21 and 22 weighted runs created plus.
Correct.
I think this is just what has annoyed us for so long. Is Endy isn't just tearing up AAA or what, and actually he has been the last month or so, but like the overall numbers, he hasn't been tearing up the league, right? Because he did start off slow, but like he's still significantly better than the present options. So it was the most glaring way to just immediately improve this team was to call up Endy Rodriguez. And I think that's why it was so frustrating waiting so long, because again, like you don't need Endy to be, you don't need Endy to hit 320 and hit 10 home runs and get on base at a 450 clip like he was in, AA. You don't need that out of him. You just need someone who's somewhat competent at the plate, and you've got an instant, pretty significant upgrade at that position. So yeah, I'm happy it's happening. It was pretty cool that you saw the video yesterday of Endy Rodriguez getting the news. He was super excited. Pumped. So I always love those videos. Those are always neat. But yeah, Endy Rodriguez major league debut today. Can't wait.
Very much so. All right, let's transition over to the next guy then. I guess the guy that you knew was happening first. Let's talk about Quinn Priester. That was announced more so over the weekend. Speaking about videos, if you saw his as well, his was told like in game. So he started this weekend. He pitched, and he only pitched 1 inning. And that set alarms off a lot of people. I mean, again, if you're in the North Shore 9 Discord, which if you're not, get in it. But if you're in the North Shore 9 Discord, everyone's talking about, oh my God, Quinn Priester pitched 1 inning and it was pulled. Quinn Priester alert, right? And that's actually what happened. If you saw his video, he was just sitting on the bench and the coach was like, we're not putting you back in. So we can't. You're going to the major leagues, right? So Quinn Priester makes his major league debut. Going to start today, Jim. Again, that's what's really, really awesome. 3 players getting called up on the same day, and I assume all 3 are going to start. So Quinn Priester and Endy catching Quinn Priester, maybe? Maybe. That's going to be kind of cool. But yeah, so Quinn Priester getting the call up today. Will start today. And again, we're talking about a guy who's like overall numbers aren't great, right? But like when you look at recently, like his April was not good at all. And then he kind of hit his stride a little bit. So like I'm going to talk about this too. Like his last 13 games, right? 13 starts, which was 68 innings pitched, a 3.31 ERA, 126 WHIP, 6-0 in those starts. But he seems to be very up and down, right? He has a good start, has a not so good start, has a good start, not so good start, right? But I think at this point, and it's almost like with Endy, I think we kind of know what Quinn Priester is, and maybe just level off some expectations you might have had for him. I guess maybe like 2 years ago, he was a talk of the town during COVID, right? Everyone was talking about Quinn Priester in camp, right? Where there's no actual games happening. And then he kind of came out and maybe was overhyped with that. Still solid pitcher, but I don't think we're looking at Quinn Priester being a top of the rotation type of guy. Fair?
That's fair. What you're gonna see out of Quinn Priester, I think, is you're gonna see inconsistency. That's probably what you're gonna see from him. He's a young pitcher. He's still just 22 years old.
Mm-hmm.
We're 4 years since he was drafted straight out of high school. He has performed well everywhere he's been. At AAA this year, he's been fine. He hasn't been great. He hasn't been bad. He's been fine. Double A last year, it was his best year, really, that he ever put up. But no, you're going to see a guy who I think is going to be inconsistent at times, but he's pretty efficient. He stays around the plate. The command's good. He doesn't walk a ton of batters. He also doesn't strike out a ton of batters. He definitely relies on more like soft contact. He's able to strike people out. He's got his breaking stuff. You'll see it tonight is very good. The curveball that he's going to bring to this staff is probably the best curveball on the team. Like, he's probably got the best curveball on the team the day he walks into that clubhouse, which is pretty impressive. And there's some good curveballs on this team.
Yeah.
But the fastball is kind of what's going to limit his ceiling, because, and we kind of see similar things with like Luis Ortiz, right? In his fastball, it just doesn't miss a ton of bats. And when you can't, when your fastball is hittable like that, you'll get some good games out of him, like when everything's on. But when that fastball isn't on, or when his breaking stuff is off, you're going to get some duds, right? So just expect some growing pains out of Quinn Priester. I do think he's one of those like low variable guys, like low variance guys, where like I don't think Quinn Priester is not a major league starter. Like, I think at worst you're looking at a number 5 starter in baseball. Like, he's a starting pitcher. He's got a 5-pitch arsenal. They're all like they're all okay pitches, and he's got some really good ones. Like, the dude's a starting pitcher. It's just going to depend on, can he figure out something to do with his fastball to make it less hittable? Because that's going to define what his ceiling is, right? I think right now his ceiling is probably like a number 3 starter. I think he's going to slate more into like that number 4 role. So like, kind of think of last year JT Brubaker. Last year JT Brubaker is probably what you can expect from Quinn Priester. Inconsistency, but every once in a while he'll get you like a really good start. Sometimes he'll get knocked out after 4 innings, but for the most part, he's going to give you a chance to win every single time. He's going to give you 2 wins above replacement. He's going to be a major league starter that most teams would welcome on their rotation, right?
Yeah.
Don't expect an ace. Quinn Priester's not an ace. The fastball limits that. But I think you can expect someone who, more often than not, is going to give your team a chance to win the game.
As long as that team has an offense, that's to be determined right now.
But hey, now you don't have a 20 WRC plus catcher batting.
Right. So maybe. But yeah, I think that's well said. To kind of quote what you said here as well, I think is the best way of putting it. Quinn's off speed, right, is what gives him the ceiling. His fastball is what gives him the floor. That's what's going to limit him, right? So I'm with you. I think there was a lot of hype with Quinn Priester, but I think that's kind of settled now, right? So I think the expectations are pretty much what you said, and that's fine. Also, like that's fine. What makes it more fine too is the team drafted Paul Skeens, so like you don't need Quinn Priester to be like a top of the rotation type of person, right? You already got Mitch Keller here. If Skeens is here next year, like 1 and 2 is locked up. You need 3, 4s, and 5s. So Quinn Priester, if you could just fill in one of those roles, you start to squint and see a relatively competent rotation in the mix, right, in the future. But yeah, like, and that's not to hate on Quinn Priester at all, So again, like you mentioned, like he certainly has a look of a major league starter. This isn't someone we're calling up and hoping for the best. I guess to put it like with Oviedo, right? Oviedo has stuff, but you could see him being a reliever. Quinn Priester is going to be a starter through and through. So yeah, also again, pretty exciting stuff. He gets the call today. We'll start, so you guys get to see him firsthand. Anything else you want to add to Quinn Priester? Oh, I guess just one other thing I just want to add. Nothing that happens to deal with him, but dude, just an absolute unit. Just a house. I mean, strong. Like you just look at him, just strong, rip, cut, everything. Like he's just specimen.
Yeah, I mean he's listed, I think it's 6'3". I'd be shocked if he's not more 6'4" ish. Like he's a big dude. He's your prototypical workhorse starting pitcher. He can go deep into games. He can throw a lot of pitches. Yeah, like he's built to last.
He's built
like
to last.
He's a durable guy.
You sound like my dad talking about his first car.
Yeah, like he's a pretty durable guy. And you're gonna see, like I said, pretty legit arsenal. Like he's got a sinker, he's got a four seam, so he's got a couple different versions of his fastball. Slider, curveball are both very good pitches. Mm-hmm. He throws a changeup, and he throws it a pretty decent amount too. And he even sprinkles in a cutter every once in a while. It's a pitch he's working on, but it is something where, yeah, if he can kind of figure out that cutter, that gives him another look on that fastball that maybe helps him out a little bit more. But yeah, like lots of pitches, got a good arsenal, and a lot of the pitchers, like the curveball and the slider, are both excellent pitches. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to see Quinn Priester.
There you go. Well, then let's move on to the next player, the last player getting called up today as well. As mentioned, that's Liover Peguero. He already has made his major league debut, right? He was here for like the weekend, more or less last year because of injuries and such. Proximity, right? He was close. They got him here right away. But I guess this one is like more or less here to stay type of debut, right? So it's not as fun, exciting as like your major league debut, but this one is more or less like we're calling you up for real this time. What I think is really cool as well was we know how close him and Nick Gonzalez are. I mean, they've been going through the minor leagues together since, Gonzalez has been drafted. They're very, very tight, the double play partners, right? And the fact is, right now, at this point in time, they're here together in that sense. Nick Gonzalez is here, Peguero's here, and we saw Peguero in the game when Nick Gonzalez got called up. Like there was an off day, and he was at PNC, and they got interviewed, and he was like, "I'm coming, on God, I'm coming," right? Mm-hmm. And he willed it, made it happen. He went to AAA. Was only there for a little bit of time. As a matter of fact, how many games was it in AAA?
Seven games. He was basically there a week. Yeah,
he was there a week and got caught up. So good for him. Now we have talked about him on Starbucks, right, a little bit, and I think we're both on here. Like I'm good with a Peguero call up. I don't know if it's in the cards right now, right away, but I think it's time to start pushing that narrative. And here we are. It happened, Jim.
Yeah, I mean, similar situation to Endy. Like Peguero has been performing for the most part all year long. And what's been exciting about Peguero's season is the reason why scouts have liked him for so long and why he was on these top prospect lists at such a young age is because of the power potential that comes with him. And you finally are kind of seeing him now tap into that power. He had 10 homers last year in AA. He had 11 this season in just his first 69 games before getting promoted. So the power is there now. Like it's kind of arrived. He's tapped into it. He's always been someone who's hit the ball hard. He barrels balls up. Now it's like he's finding his swing. He's really finding his swing. He's getting lift on the balls. He's driving it. And it's not altering his approach. The approach has gotten even better. He's walking more this season than he ever has before in the minors. He's striking out less than he ever has before. And he's hitting the ball harder and farther than he ever has before. Like the guy's bat has seriously taken a step forward this season, which you just love to see, because I feel like the Pirates they just needed one of these minor league middle infielders to kind of develop. And who knows if Peguero is going to be the one, right? But you've seen a lot of progression with Peguero and his bat specifically this season. Again, super young. He's 22 years old. So him and Quinn Priester coming up at 22. Yeah, hopefully he's here to stay. But like I mentioned the Endy thing, like the Pirates just need someone who's competent at shortstop too, because they haven't had that since O'Neal Cruz went down, and that was April 9th or something like that. Yeah. I think the Pirates shortstop position since April 9th is, I know Connor was spitting some numbers on the postgame show a couple days ago. Like 80 something, like an 80 weighted runs created plus since the Cruz injury from the shortstop position. And on top of that, they've been playing atrocious defense at that position. So you've got a position where you desperately need someone who can field it, and you desperately need someone who can just hit. And right now, Peguero's defense is his biggest concern. The bat can play, I think, at the major league level at the shortstop position, right? So now it's just a matter of, okay, can the glove play? And I still don't know the answer to that question. I guess we'll see. Like hey, we'll see. but let's see. Let's see if it does. He's just based on, like, it's hard to judge off of minor league numbers, and I don't watch a ton of Altoona Curve games, so it's hard to know what he's looked like. His issues last season and in the fall league were the arm. Like, he can't throw the ball to first base from the shortstop position consistently. So if he can get that under control, then the athleticism is there. He can definitely field the position. It's just a matter of, once you field it, can you get the ball to first base? That's been Peguero's issue the last couple of seasons.
Right. Yeah, like Eric Longenhagen pretty much said, like, he just developed the yips. Like, he just got the yips. He can't throw the ball. You're right. Like, the glove was never the issue, more or less, right? Like, O'Neal Cruz's issue was the glove, right? Little glove stay at short, right? Marcano has a glove. He has no arm. Peguero, I don't like to say has a glove like Marcano, but like, he has the glove. It's just the arm. Like, I don't. It seems like it's more mental. Like, he has an arm. It works. It throws the ball hard and just not accurate for some reason. Yeah. And that's where I'm at. Like, I'm worried about the defense. The defense has been very, very atrocious on shortstop. But I guess it's like the Austin Hedges effect, in the sense of, can his bat at least outplay that, right? You've been frustrated with the defense all year long, but it's also been more or less incompetent, not Austin Hedges level, but incompetent offense also. So if Peguero can at least give you the same defense, which you already have, but upgrade the bat, then it's still a net positive. There's still some positive that which you have currently. I'm not sure if the bat will, and I'm not sure the glove's going to be that atrocious either, but I'm intrigued for sure by him. I think what's funny too is we talk about him and Nick Gonzalez, right? They're kind of like tied to the hip in a sense, like as far as prospects, and both of them were kind of in the same way frustrating. You talk about, like, I feel like every single year, well, Nick Gonzalez and Peguero aren't performing. Are they going to be prospects? And you're talking, oh, wow, Nick Gonzalez and Peguero are just dominating right now. Put them back in the prospect list, right? They're the future. Mm-hmm. And like this year, the same thing. Like, Gonzalez had his struggles and he caught on. You still have some worries, right? But he caught on. He's in the bigs right now. Peguero was struggling again, and you're just really ready to write him off as a prospect, and then he just caught fire. But I feel like he caught fire in a huge way this year, and probably more than like he ever has. And it's like how you said, like the walk rate, it's all the other peripherals, right? It's not just like he's hitting the ball and his average there and his power, like all the other stuff, like the strikeouts have really calmed down. The walk rates there. And what I want to use again, we talked in April, I think, to an extent, how just every prospect is struggling. And we were so worried about this farm system in April because everyone was struggling. So also going to Peguero, much like I did Quinn Priester, since May, right? Like his numbers, like his walk rate, 9.7%, his strikeout rate, 18.2 in AA since May. That plays. And like you said, if you're still having that type of power and not striking out at that rate, right? 124 weighted runs created plus, like that absolutely plays. You're slugging almost 500 and striking out 18% of the time. That's a positive. I wasn't expecting that from Peguero. Again, not sure that's going to translate to the majors, but again, that this is what intrigues you now. This is what puts you back on the list as like a prospect to really, be intrigued and look into. And the other thing, like you said, you just need one to stick. And so far, the Pirates have not found one middle infielder of all they've acquired that you like or feel comfortable with, right? So Peguero's next on that list, and hopefully, like you said, he can stick around. I mean, Nick Gonzalez is up. There's still some concerns, but he's holding his ground to a degree. Still fresh, right? Small sample size, but Peguero's here now, so there's another one added to the list to look into. So, like, that's what the Pirates going to need. And also, not that who he left exposed, but he is Rule 5 eligible. There's a lot of guys, again, in Rule 5 to look into. So, seeing everyone is certainly something they need to do this year. And, so Peguero gets to call. So, I guess kind of to wrap this up, what are you expecting the rest of the season for all three?
Yeah, good question. With Endy, I'm expecting okay to solid defense behind the plate. I don't think they move him around very much. I don't think they move him around very much at the major league level. I feel like he's going to mostly stick at catcher. You may see him take like a game or two at first base, but he's going to be catching, I think, for the most part. But I'm expecting Endy Rodriguez to, at least be like a 90 weighted runs created plus type of player, 90 or above. That would be my expectation. Quinn Priester, kind of how I mentioned before, I think he'll be inconsistent, but maybe 2 out of 3 times he's given you a pretty good start. JT Brubaker level production is kind of where I kind of keep going back to with Quinn Priester. I think that is very fair to expect. Like if you look at 2022 JT Brubaker, like that's what I expect from Quinn Priester. Peguero is a little more interesting because I think the ceiling is kind of there with Peguero, where like if the power plays, you might have something there. I'm interested to see how he looks defensively at shortstop, but I think the bat can play at least better than any other option they've had there at shortstop this year. What's going to be interesting about Peguero in his case is, and Nick Gonzalez has a lot to do with this too. O'Neal Cruz isn't that far off. Like we're probably within a month of seeing O'Neal Cruz again. So, but that means you get a month of runtime of, like, let's see what a Peguero Gonzalez middle infield can look like, right?
Right.
But then once that month comes and O'Neal Cruz is back, you've got to basically pick one, Gonzalez or Peguero, or you can kind of split time at second base between the two of them. I think that's kind of where we're at. So I think right now you almost have Peguero and Gonzalez competing against each other for future playing time going forward.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm really totally on board with that. Not that really matters what we're talking about right now, just because I feel like they might really ease Cruz back in, maybe more DHing.
That's fair too.
I don't know. Yeah. We'll see, because obviously with Kutch, like that's also how you're gonna get Kutch in the game. So I guess we'll find out. But either way, yeah, I think what's funny is Peguero was the least rated prospect of the three, but of ones who are like performing, he was the better performing prospect of all of them. So yeah, like I'm kind of intrigued too. Like maybe long term, you look at Endy being the better player, right? Quinn being the better player, but right now, Peguero's on fire. So I kind of feel like he might perform the best currently at the major leagues this year, right now. Again, we'll find out. Not labeling that. But I think there's a fair assessment. Like that's also the other thing too. I don't think anyone should expect like Endy to come up and just tear it up. Like most prospects, you might have a fine 1 or 2 weeks. League will adjust, have some struggles, right? But the big part about this is like finally getting up here and finally getting those adjustments. So like next year you're ready to go also. But yeah, like a 90 weighted runs created plus is perfectly acceptable, perfectly okay, and also again 70 points better than the current position's giving you.
Yeah, I mean that's really what it comes down to. Like, even if he's a below average hitter, he's still a significant upgrade at that position.
Significant.
And I think he can. I mean, the ceiling's there. He can be better than that. But I think that's probably a proper expectation. I think Endy Rodriguez and Quinn Priester are are major league baseball players.
Yeah, for sure.
Peguero, I'm still not 100% positive on. So let's find out.
Yep. All right. So I'm officially excited now, Jim. You lifted me up. It was good to talk about this today and discuss it. I guess if you had the mindset, right, it's now the 2023 Pirates. We know who they are. They've decided they're not going to attempt to even try to make a playoff push in this weak division. So it's no longer about wins and losses. Although, granted, you don't have to choose to lose as many as you can. The kids, as they say, are here. Like, the kids are here. So now let's refocus and put your mindset back into developmental year. Just watch the kids grow. Who cares about anything else? Trade deadline's coming up. Sure, guys can be, moved, make more room for the kids. That's where I think, like, once, hopefully, maybe Santana, I doubt Troy, right? Like, the first base position probably opens up a little bit. So that's how Endy plays first. Maybe Henry gets in the catching role, right? Endy's probably going to play first base. Like you said, I don't see him playing second base too much this year as well. I think they want to really hone in on his catching. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for these kids to play going forward. So let's be excited for that. See how they all develop.
Yeah, and like all the kids are here now. They're all here.
Well, yeah, we kind of sent some kids away, but Rowe and Ortiz could come back soon.
That's true. Yeah, the pitchers need to get here too.
Right. But as far as the prospects who've developed and are on the cusp, right, they're now all here. There's no one really else that you're waiting on to come to the majors. So, yeah, good times for that, I guess.
Yep.
So either way, we out of here?
I think we're out.
All right. Appreciate you all for watching. We'll see you tonight for a Quinn Priester start. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Hey, you all. Thank you for watching. I know we try to provide the most entertaining content that we can, and we'd love to spread it to as many people as possible. So I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you could take the 5 seconds to like this video and subscribe to the page, it helps out so much more than you know. Thank you, and let's go Bucks.